Welcome to the Stuttering Awareness Mental Wellbeing Campaign launch, and I'm joined by Monica O'Shea. Monica O'Shea is... Actually, Monica, would you like to explain who you are?
My name is Monica O'Shea. I'm married to Michael O'Shea, who is one of the co-founders of this with the other Michael and Jamie Googan. My husband has had a severe stammer all his life. He had it when I met him. And now it's his, he is now trying to give back to the stammering community, all the help and support that he got over the years.
So yourself and Michael have been together for a very long time,
Very long time. Michael was 15, I think I was 17 when we met.
And what was it like going out at the time with somebody who had a stutter?
To me, it didn't make a difference. I never saw Michael stutter.
Yeah.
Never ever. I saw the person inside.
Yeah.
Never ever. It was never a problem. The only problem it ever had was at the time when we were going out together. I used to love Pernod and lime.
Okay.
I never got it.
Okay.
Because when he could go to the bar, he'd come back with a vodka and white. He'd say they had none of that stuff you wanted.
Yeah.
So I got you that instead. And I, like being gullible, believed it for a long, long time. Like, what kind of a bar doesn't have Pernod and lime? You know, but that's the way it was. He asked, or he wrote, or whatever he could get. And I hate vodka. I hated it then,
So
and I
you
hate
must
it
have loved him very,
now.
very much
Yeah. I stopped asking. After a while, you stop asking. I stopped asking for the Pernod and lime. He'd say to me, "What do you have?" And I said, "Just get the usual." Didn't like the usual, but that's what I said.
But it became the usual.
Yeah, it became the usual. But that's the way it was. I mean, I never saw, to me, his stutter was never a problem. Never stopped him doing anything.
Right.
We went out together, we got engaged, we got married, we built a house, we had a family, you know, but all those things still happened. And we were only married 3 months when Michael decided, he came home one day and decided he was going to become self-employed. We had a bag of tools, 30 quid and a stammer. But we never went hungry. The kids never went short of anything. I can honestly say in my life, his kids never went short. And we never saw, Michael used to get embarrassed if our friends called to the house. He had the best garden on the road because he was always out there doing the garden if somebody came in, because he didn't want to embarrass us. But we never saw that. But I never knew that until he wrote the book. I never knew that. The Michael I knew, that I met, knew and married, is a completely different Michael now. I've had to relearn what he was like over the years, because the person I thought he was completely different up here. Up here, he was completely different.
So you went through your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, and during that time, because of Michael's stutter, what sort of role were you having to take on? I was his voice. I was his speaking voice. It didn't matter where we went. When he became self-employed, we only had house phone at the time. There was no mobiles. I mean, you're talking 44 years ago now. We're 44 years married this July. I became his speaking voice. I ordered all the whatever needed to be ordered, timbers, whatever, wherever he had to go. It was I did it all. When the kids came along, I went to hurling matches, I went to soccer games, I went to parent-teacher meetings. He was always too busy. He was always either meeting a client, or he was doing invoices, or he was doing quotations, or he was doing something. But I didn't know. He never told me it was because he didn't want to speak. He was afraid that he would let us down with the teachers, that they would think badly of his children because their father had a stammer, which couldn't have been further from the truth. But that was the way he thought. We never thought like that, or his two sons never ever thought of him like that. But that was the way he thought. And it was only when he went on this program that he did to help him, that has made a huge difference in his life, that I had to relearn. I had to learn who the second Michael was, because the first Michael was gone. And I had to relearn the second, and I could either go with it or go against it. And I decided to go with it. So in some cases, when children leave the home and you've had a family at home for many, many years, you hear people talking about a couple having to get to know each other all over again. In some way that was similar to that.
Yeah, but it happened much earlier.
Yes, of course.
than when the kids left home. Like our eldest son was 18 and our youngest was 15 when Michael went on the program that helped him all his life.
Yeah.
And like we used to call him the third teenager because when he used to be on the phone every night, and you know what teenagers are like.
Absolutely.
Be on the phone.
Yeah.
They could never get near it because their father was always on it, but it was part of what he had to do to help himself.
Yeah.
And as soon as they realised that, they just started using their mobiles, and they'd even stop ringing me on the house phone. They'd just ring my mobile and say, well, no point in ringing, we know Dad is on the phone.
Yeah.
What's the point? You know, but it was a learning curve for all of us. It was a learning curve for all of us, and including the kids. It was a learning curve for them as well. But happily, they accepted it and they learned to flow with it. And now, I mean, it's completely, it's like as if it never happened.
Yeah.
I mean, this Michael today is a completely different Michael to the Michael of 15, 44 years ago. Completely different Michael. I mean, he couldn't even stand up at our wedding and say he's best man. He did. He stood up to say a few words. And he had such a tight grip on my hand that my hand swelled the next day. I couldn't get my rings off the next day. But it was all he could do. And even then he couldn't get his words out. But you know, that was the fear, and that was the fear that his stammer had over him.
Yeah.
But you just learn you go with it. It's part of him. It was always been part of him, and it always will be part of him. I mean, that hasn't gone. It's still there. But he's learned to cope with it.
And what was your reaction when you could see that this particular program that he's working on was actually working for him?
For a long time, resentment, because, as I said, I became redundant. Suddenly he could make his own phone calls.
Yeah.
Suddenly I wasn't being asked to order anything anymore.
Yeah.
I was being told we were going away for a weekend rather than book a weekend or go on a holiday.
Yeah.
I was just being told we would go for a meal. And I used to order all the food when we'd go out because he'd tell me what he wanted and I'd order it. But now I was being asked what I was having and I'd sit there like a dog, nodding. He'd order my food and the waitress looked at me and I'd just go. I swear they thought I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
Until after a while I just said, enough. I have a voice. I'm going to use it. So I said, it has to stop. I can order my own food.
Yeah.
Just like you can order yours. I can now order. But it was something he could never do. He couldn't go into a chip shop.
Yeah.
They used to call him, they had a name on him at home. Oh, because it was the only thing he could, was it chicken? I can't remember what it was now. But it was the only thing he could ask for. It wouldn't be what he'd want.
Yeah.
He might go in for a hamburger and chip or a sausage and a chip, but he never came out with it.
Yeah.
Whatever he could ask for when he went in, that's what he got. And I mean, it was the same with the kids. He'd go someplace with the kids and they might ask him to get, if he was going to the shop, get A, B and C. He'd come home with something completely different.
Yeah.
And they'd say, why, they didn't have it.
Yeah.
That was always
Similar
the
to
answer.
the Pernod vodka.
They didn't have it. Yeah, they didn't have it. That'll be grand. You can have that instead. It'll be fine.
Now, over the years, certainly since Michael wrote his book, of which a part of one of the chapters is from you. I'm just curious. You've met some incredible people, and you've gone to some incredible places.
Fantastic, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that place.
Very incredible. It's amazing. It never fails to blow me away. I mean, I've met people that there's one lady, and we used to call her Mary Mouse, because you wouldn't hear her behind a newspaper.
Yeah.
She was very, very softly spoken, very, her head down all the time. Not today. I often described it as watching a flower. You know, you get a flower and it's tight like a rosebud.
Yeah.
And bit by bit you see that flower opening up.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like. You meet them, you might meet them today and you mightn't see them for 3 months, but their personality will have changed, their confidence will have gone through the roof, their hairstyle will have changed, their clothes will have changed. So that person you met 3 months ago is completely and utterly different, and it's fantastic to watch. It really and truly is. I mean, a stammer is only a very, very small part of a person. It's like anything. If somebody has any kind of a disability, it's just a very, very small part of them.
Yeah.
But to them, it's a massive part. It is massive. But if you're looking at it and I'm looking at it and you might even hear it, but they can. And they're constantly trying to find ways to either change words or work their way out of a situation or try and stand in. When we used to go to a party, he used to find a corner and he would stand there and hope nobody would come near him, and he used to be like a magnet.
Yeah.
People used to just get drawn into him.
Yeah.
Right? And he used to say to me, when can we leave? That's all I used to be listening to, when can we leave? But people it didn't matter what he tried to do or where he tried to hide, they found him. And he might know a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there was just something about him. Michael has that kind of a personality. People just love being around him.
Mm-hmm.
What you see is what you get. I often say he annoys the hell out of me because he gets up out of bed in the morning with that smile on his face, and he goes to bed with that smile on his face at night time. Whereas I'm the opposite.
So you've basically had the opportunity to witness all these transformations.
Oh yeah, that's unreal. It's unbelievable. I've seen them from
Michael himself.
13-year-olds and 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
I've seen them come in and they're crying and they're crying and they're crying and they can't cope. And you meet them 3 months or 6 months later, and it's like a completely different person. It's like somebody flicks a switch in them, and they realise, well, yes, they've met other people that are the same as them.
Yeah.
But maybe for the first time in their life, they've met a second person that can who stammers. And they understand them. And they understand all the feelings, which is the big, big thing. Because as you know, support is it's no good if you don't have support.
Mm-hmm.
You can do all the programs you want in the world and you can go on any amount of them. But if you don't have backup or support, you're wasting your time. It's a waste of time. And that's the one thing that him, Jamie Coogan, Michael Ryan, Norman, that was here this morning, all those guys give back their time and their, they're
feeding on that success.
They're feeding off that. They're helping themselves as well.
Yeah.
But as well as helping themselves, they're helping others.
Yeah.
I mean, his phone would be often 11 o'clock at night, his phone. He'll never refuse to take a call.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where we are.
Yeah.
If somebody needs help, he'll answer it.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely superb.
It's absolutely fantastic, yeah. I have to say, and without Michael, without the two Michaels and Jamie, we wouldn't all know one another.
That's very, very true.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've been to fantastic places. We've been to Australia.
Yeah.
We've been to Croatia. We've been all over the world with that book, and it's opened massive, massive doors for him. And I just go along to carry the luggage. I just carry the luggage.
They say, what do they say? Behind every successful man is a surprised woman.
Well, you either learn to go with the flow or you sink.
Yeah.
And I just decided, well, I go with the flow.
Of the places you visited, just while we're on the topic, what one stands out?
Oh, Croatia. For me, yeah. Croatia, it was beautiful. Yeah. It was a very simple country, but it was beautiful. It's unspoiled. Mm-hmm. Well, it was when we there. It was very, very unspoiled. And we met some fantastic people there as well. Yeah. But it was lovely. Brilliant. It's one place I always said we'd like to go back to is Croatia.
So hopefully you'll have the chance to
I hope so too, yeah. We keep saying it's on our bucket list to go back. But it's beautiful. It's a very unspoiled country. I hope they don't ever ruin it with tourism.
Brilliant. For any young person watching this and a young person who has a stutter, what advice would you give them?
Ask for help.
Yeah.
Reach out, talk to either a friend or talk to their parent or talk to a teacher. But ask for help. Mm-hmm. It's there. It's out there. There is plenty of help out there for anybody. Like what might suit you today mightn't suit another. Mm-hmm. But there will be something there for you. There will be somebody there to listen. Just even somebody at the end of the phone to listen to what you've got to say. What you've got to say is as important as anybody else. Yeah. But the biggest thing, and the biggest, you believe it or not, mightn't even be a phone. The hardest thing for anybody with a stammer is a phone. Mm-hmm. Michael couldn't use a phone for years. Yeah. It took him a long, long time before he could use a phone. It was his biggest fear. Yeah. Whereas if I wasn't at home and the phone rang, he wouldn't answer it. He wouldn't answer it. Simple as. If I wasn't there, that phone did not get answered. But today, you can't get near it.
You can't get off the phone.
No.
So what sort of qualities would you describe Michael as having that has made him so successful? Going from a place where he couldn't answer the phone and wasn't comfortable in so many situations to the man he is now, and the success he's enjoying, and the difference, or I suppose the changes he's making in people's lives. What qualities are they, do you think?
What qualities? Michael is what's the best way to describe you? He's passionate, number one. That's stammering. That is the one thing he is. It's a passion with him. Mm-hmm. It'll be with him, I think, until the day he goes into the grave. That is just to help people. That is that's the best quality he's got in life, is he wants to help people.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who they are, whether you're a king or a pauper, if you need help, he'll never ever refuse it. He can listen. Michael is a great listener.
Yeah.
Listener, he might not say much. You mightn't hear about it, he'll think about it, and he will then come back to you. He's a giver. Michael is a giver, he's not a taker. Michael is a giver. He gives his time. He'd give you the last cent in your pocket if you needed it. If he needed it himself, it didn't matter. But if somebody else needed it, he'll give it. And he's got a love for people. He's got a great love for people. Whether it's us or whether it's grandkids, whether it's his kids, it doesn't matter. If once they come in the door, whatever he's doing, he will drop it and come down and spend time with them. There's not enough hours in the day for him sometimes, but he will always give time for his family and his grandkids, always. And he's just a people lover. And people just get drawn to him. You know, you can see that in people. Some people you can get a vibe off them.
Yeah.
You'll always get that good vibe off of him. He's I don't think I've ever seen him in bad humour. Never. In 44 years of marriage, I've never seen him in bad humour. He's often seen me in bad humour.
That's a different matter entirely.
Yeah. I've never seen him. Michael will just smile. He'll smile through everything. That's his saving grace, is his smile.
Monica, you've been absolutely brilliant to talk to.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Con.
so very much.
Thank you. I hadn't intended to do this.
You got roped in at the last minute, but your experiences are valuable.
Thank you.
And your insights, and anybody listening to this or anybody watching it will pick up so much from what you've had to say.
Well, I hope
because
so.
You've had a ringside seat in this and a unique perspective.
Yeah.
So thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Con.
You're very welcome.
I enjoyed it, I have to say.